ask you to try and use your imaginations this morning. Think about that upper room. It is now a week later, and 10 of the disciples, we are told, are gathered in that upper room for fear of the Jews. Jesus, their leader, had been killed. They were told that the tomb was empty, but they aren't sure what to believe. And so they're gathered behind locked doors in this room that they thought was safe, because this is, after all, where they had spent that last night with Jesus before he was crucified. The Jews hadn't found them then, so they anticipated they would not be found now. But they're there, a very fearful kind of group. And suddenly Jesus appears to them. And he opens his robe. He says, "See, this is the wound in my side. See my wrists. That's where the nails were. And they say, 'My Lord and my God.'" They see him, and yet they somehow are still a little terrified. Walter Wadgerman Jr. describes it this way. He said, Jesus quietly moves among them. He goes first to shy Andrew, and he lays his hand on Andrew's head, and he breathes on him. He then goes one by one to all of the disciples. He puts his hands on their head and breathes on them and says, "Peace, peace be with you." And somehow in that moment, they are transformed from this fearful band into something else. The last disciple that Jesus goes to in that upper room is Simon Peter. And he stands, and again he puts his hand on Simon Peter and says, "Peace be with you," and breathes on him. We are gathered here this morning, not locked in a room, but we come of our own free will. We have experienced the resurrection. But we're a little unsure, uncertain too. Perhaps even a little fearful. For we know that that world out there is a fearful place. We know that if we go out there and talk about the risen Lord, some people may look at us a little askance. Some people may even turn away from us. Some people may not even like us. And they will ask us, "How do you believe such a fanciful tale? God becoming human, going to a cross, dying and being resurrected. What a wild tale. How can you believe such nonsense?" So it's not easy for us either just as it was not easy for the disciples. But my brothers and sisters, I want to assure you that Jesus is here, that he is moving among us quietly. No big fanfare, but he's moving quietly. He comes and he lays his hand on you. And he breathes on you. And he says, "Peace be with you. Receive the Holy Spirit." Can you feel that power? Can you feel him putting his hands on you? He says to you, "As the Father has sent me, so I send you." Hear that. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. And I have given you the ministry of reconciliation. So go into all that fearful world out there, strengthened with the knowledge that I am with you, that I walk with you, and that my story, 2,000 some years later, still needs to be told. Amen.
Amen.